Why did she lose attraction the moment you showed her your real self? You music didn't cheat. You didn't lie. You didn't do anything wrong. You just told her the truth. You told her about the pressure you've been under, the anxiety keeping you up at 3 in the morning, the fear that maybe you're not enough, that maybe you're falling behind, that maybe the version of you she fell for was better than the version sitting in front of her right now. Music. And she listened. She held your hand. She told you everything would be okay. Then she stopped initiating, stopped reaching for you in bed, stopped looking at you the way she used to with that fire behind her eyes that made every hard day worth surviving. Something died in music, that conversation. And you have spent every day since trying to figure out what it was. 5 centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli figured it out. Not in a dating book, not in a self-help seminar. In a political music treatise so dangerous it was banned by the Pope and studied in secret by every ambitious leader in Europe. Inside that treatise is a warning about vulnerability, timing, and the catastrophic cost of showing weakness at the precise moment when strength is the only thing that can save you. This warning applies to your relationship with a precision that will make your stomach drop. Most men will never hear it. The ones who do will never see women or themselves the same way again. You're about to hear it right now. Part 1. The modern vulnerability trap. Somewhere in the last 2 decades, a dangerous idea became gospel. Music. The idea that emotional openness is always good, that vulnerability is always attractive, that the more you share, the closer you get. Therapists preach it. Podcasters repeat it. Social media turned it into a commandment. Real men share their feelings. Vulnerability is strength. If she can't handle your emotions, she doesn't deserve you. Beautiful sentiments truly, and about 60% correct music, which makes them more dangerous than something that's completely wrong because you can't see where the truth ends and the trap begins. Machiavelli had a term for this kind of partial truth. He didn't use modern psychology language, but the concept runs through every chapter of The Prince. He called it the mistake of treating all situations with the same strategy. A prince who is generous in every circumstance will eventually bankrupt himself. A prince who is merciful in every circumstance will eventually be overrun by those who exploit music mercy. The virtue itself isn't the problem. The indiscriminate music application of it is. Vulnerability works the same way. Music. There are moments when opening up to a woman deepens the bond so profoundly that it becomes unbreakable. Moments when your honesty takes her breath away and makes her feel like she's seeing the real you for the first time. Moments when your willingness to be raw creates a connection that years of surface-level conversation never could. And then there is the one moment when opening up does music the exact opposite. When it doesn't deepen the bond, but detonates it. When it doesn't draw her closer, but triggers something ancient and non-negotiable inside her that rewrites how she categorizes you entirely. Understanding the difference between these moments isn't optional. It's survival. Part 2. What Machiavelli actually said about showing weakness. Let me take you into the specific passage that changed how I think about this forever. In chapter 17 of The Prince, Machiavelli music discusses whether it's better for a leader to be loved or feared. Everyone knows this passage. Everyone quotes it at parties to sound smart. But almost nobody reads what comes next. And what comes next is where the real insight hides. Machiavelli doesn't simply say, be feared. Music. He says a prince must be careful not to be hated. He can be feared without being hated. And he achieves this by never touching the property and the women of his citizens. But then, music adds something crucial. When a prince is with his armies and has a multitude of soldiers under his command, then it is absolutely necessary that he not worry about being thought cruel. What's he really saying beneath the political language? Context determines everything. The same behavior that works in one environment destroys you in another. A leader can show compassion to his citizens during peacetime, but the moment he's commanding an army, the moment he's in a situation that demands strength above all else, compassion becomes a liability. Not because compassion is wrong, but because the situation has changed, and the situation dictates what qualities music serve you and what qualities sink you. Your relationship has these different environments too, peacetime and wartime, and most men have no idea which one they're in. Peacetime is when the relationship is secure, when trust, music has been established, when she has already decided deep in her bones that you are solid, music, that you are reliable, that you are a man whose foundation doesn't crack. In peacetime, vulnerability is a gift. It shows her a side of you that music nobody else gets to see. It makes her feel special, chosen, trusted. Music, vulnerability from a position of established strength is one of the most bonding experiences two people can share. But wartime is different. And wartime is the moment Machiavelli is warning you about. Part 3. Identifying the moment that changes everything. So what is wartime in a relationship? When is the one moment you should never open music up? It's the moment she's already questioning your strength. Maybe the relationship is new and she hasn't decided about you yet. Maybe you just lost your job and she's watching to see how you handle it. Maybe you had a public music failure that she witnessed. Maybe there's been a period of conflict and she's evaluating whether you're the man she thought you were. Maybe another man has entered her orbit and she's unconsciously comparing. Maybe she tested you recently, pushed a boundary, said something disrespectful, music, and you folded instead of holding your ground. In any of these scenarios, her respect for you is in a state of flux. It hasn't solidified. Music, it hasn't calcified into something permanent. It's liquid, moving, searching for its final shape. And in that liquid music state, every signal you send matters exponentially more than it would during stable times. This is the moment most men choose to open up. And the reason is heartbreaking. They sense the distance. They feel her pulling away. They feel the ground shifting. And their instinct screams at them to fix it by getting closer, by being more honest, by sharing more, by showing her who they really are underneath the armor, hoping that rawness will reignite the connection. It's the exact wrong move at the exact wrong time, like pouring water on a grease fire. The intention is right. The result is catastrophic. Because when she's already questioning your strength, your vulnerability doesn't read as courage. It reads as confirmation. Confirmation that the doubt she's been feeling is justified. Confirmation that the cracks she suspected are real. Confirmation that you are not the solid, unshakable man she needs you to be. Machiavelli saw this pattern repeat across centuries of political history. The leader who sensed rebellion brewing and responded by showing his human side, by appealing to his people's sympathy, by admitting his struggles and asking for understanding. That leader accelerated his own downfall every single time. Because people in doubt are looking for resolution, they want their doubt either confirmed or destroyed. And vulnerability during doubt always confirms it. Always the leader who sensed rebellion and responded with decisive action, with calm authority, with a demonstration of strength that left no room for questions. That leader crushed the rebellion before it took shape. Not through cruelty, through clarity. He removed the doubt by making doubt impossible. Part 4. The anatomy of her respect. Let me go deeper into why this happens, because understanding the machinery is the only way to stop getting chewed up music by it. A woman's respect for a man is not a fixed quantity. It's not something you earn once and keep forever. It's a living thing. It breathes, it fluctuates, it responds to stimuli in real time. And it has a tipping point that once crossed is nearly impossible to reverse. Machiavelli understood this music about political loyalty, and the parallels are almost eerie. He wrote that a prince who loses the respect of his people will find that no fortress, no army, no alliance can save him. Because once respect is gone, everything built on top of it collapses. Treaties become meaningless. Promises become laughable. The music prince can do everything right from that point forward. And it won't matter, because the foundation has been removed and nothing stands without a foundation. A woman's respect for you follows the same architecture. When it's music intact, she interprets your behavior through a generous lens. Your quietness is strong and mysterious. Your mistakes are human and forgivable. Your struggles are challenges you'll overcome. She's rooting for you. She's in your corner. She's constructing a positive narrative around everything you do. But when respect drops below a certain threshold, the lens flips completely. Your quietness, music, becomes emotional unavailability. Your mistakes become patterns of failure. Your struggles become red flags she should have seen earlier. The same behaviors that attracted her now repel her. Nothing changed except the lens. And the lens changed because respect changed. Opening up at the wrong moment doesn't just fail to help. It actively pushes respect below that threshold, because in that critical window, when she's watching you more carefully than she'll ever watch you again, your vulnerability doesn't, music, demonstrate emotional intelligence. It demonstrates emotional dependency. It shows her that when things get hard, your instinct is to seek comfort, music, rather than provide stability, to lean rather than to stand, to need rather than to lead. And something ancient inside her, something coded so deep into her biology that no amount of modern philosophy can overwrite it, responds to that signal with a single, irreversible verdict. Not safe. Not safe to rely on, not safe to follow, not safe to invest in, not safe to build a life with. This verdict isn't cruel. It's protective. She's protecting herself and her potential future. And that protection mechanism doesn't care about your feelings, your intentions, or how many articles you've read about the importance of male vulnerability. It cares about one thing. Can this man hold the line? When holding the line is the only thing that matters. If the answer is yes, she'll stay through anything. Poverty, failure, illness, loss. She'll stay because her deepest instinct tells her that music, even if the world falls apart, this man will still be standing. If the answer is no, she'll leave. Maybe not today, maybe not this month, but the departure has already begun in her heart. And everything after that verdict is just logistics. Part 5. What to do, music, instead of opening up. So, you're in the moment. You feel the ground shifting. You sense her doubt. Music. Every fiber of your being wants to sit her down and explain yourself. To tell her what you're going through, to ask for patience, for understanding, for grace. Don't. Not yet. Music. Not now. Not in this moment. Here's what Machiavelli would music tell you to do instead. Adapted from his advice to princes facing internal crisis. First, get quiet. Not cold, not distant. Quiet. There's a massive difference between a man who withdraws in silence because he's punishing someone and a man who gets quiet because he's processing. The first radiates hostility. The music, second, radiates depth. When you feel the urge to dump your emotions, channel that energy inward. Sit with what you're feeling. Examine it. Music, understand it. But don't export it. Not yet. Second, take decisive action on something. Anything. Not something dramatic, not some grand gesture designed to win her back. Something real, something that demonstrates forward motion. If you lost your job, don't spend 3 days on the couch talking about how you feel about losing your job. Spend 3 days sending applications, making calls, building plans. Not because you don't deserve to music grieve, you do, but because action during crisis communicates everything she needs to hear without you saying a single word. Machiavelli praised leaders who, music in their darkest moments, doubled down on their mission rather than collapsing into reflection. He specifically highlighted men who, when their cities were burning, didn't weep in the town square. but instead organized the bucket brigade. Their grief came later in private when the fire was out and the walls were rebuilt. Third, let her come to you. This is the hardest part. When you sense distance, every instinct screams, close the gap, resist. Because chasing her during this moment, music, only confirms her doubt. It tells her you're more afraid of losing her than you are committed to handling the situation. Instead, focus on yourself. Be present when she's present. Be warm when she engages. But do not chase. Do not pursue. Music. Do not flood her with reassurance that she didn't ask for. Something remarkable happens when you take this approach. The very qualities she was questioning. Your strength, your stability, your ability to hold your ground get demonstrated in real time through your refusal to crumble. She watches you navigate difficulty without falling apart. And that silent demonstration does more to restore her respect than any conversation ever could. Fourth, open up later after the crisis has passed, after the ground has stabilized, after she's watched you handle the storm and decided on her own that you're someone worth standing beside. Then you share what you went through. Then you tell her about the fear, the doubt, the moments when you wanted to break. And when you do, when vulnerability comes after demonstrated strength rather than instead of it, the effect is nuclear. Because now she's not seeing weakness. She's seeing the full picture. A man who was scared and stood firm. A man who hurt and kept moving. A man who felt everything and handled everything. That combination, vulnerability, music, backed by demonstrated resilience, is the most attractive thing a man can offer. It's not just openness. It's openness from a position of proven strength. And it makes her feel simultaneously that she's with a man who is strong enough to protect her and human enough to connect with her. That's the music sweet spot. That's the destination. But the sequence matters. Strength first, vulnerability second, always in that order. Reverse music it, and you lose everything. Part 6. The difference between processing and performing. I need to make a distinction here that could save your relationship and maybe your sense of self. There's a difference between processing your emotions and music, performing your emotions. And modern culture has completely blurred the line between the two. Music processing is internal. It's what happens when you sit alone with your pain and actually feel it. When you journal about it, meditate on it, discuss it with a music-trusted friend or therapist, or simply sit in silence and let it move through you. Processing is essential. Suppressing emotions isn't strength. It's a time bomb. Machiavelli himself suffered enormously in exile music and channeled that suffering into writing that changed the world. He didn't suppress, he transformed. Performing is external. It's what happens when you take your emotions and present them to someone with the implicit expectation of a response. When you tell her about your pain and then watch her face for the reaction. When you share your insecurity and then wait for her to reassure you. Music. When you cry in front of her and need her to hold you, comfort you, mother you through the storm. Processing builds strength. Performing transfers weight, and transferring emotional weight to a woman during a moment when she's evaluating your strength is the fastest way, music, to fail the evaluation. Machiavelli would draw a parallel to a prince who, music, processes his strategic challenges privately with his advisors, but presents a face of calm certainty to his people. He's not lying. He's not suppressing. He's choosing his audience. He understands that the music's same information delivered to different audiences creates completely different outcomes. Music. His advisors can handle the raw data. His people need the processed version, the version that includes the solution alongside the problem. Your woman is not your therapist. She is not your emotional processing center. She can be sometimes in the right moments when the foundation is solid and the timing, music, is right. but she should never be your primary outlet for unprocessed emotional turmoil. That's what friends are for. Brothers, mentors, journals, therapists, the whole infrastructure of emotional support that most men neglect entirely, music, because they've been told that their romantic partner should fill every role. She can't. She shouldn't have to. And when you force her into that role at the wrong moment, you're not being open. You're being unfair. Part 7. Building the foundation that makes vulnerability safe. Everything I've said leads to a natural question. If there's a wrong time to open up, how do I build toward the right time? Machiavelli actually answers this beautifully, though he was talking about something entirely different. In his chapter on fortifications, he argues that the time to build defenses, music, is during peace, not during war. The prince who waits until the enemy is at the gates to start building walls is already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. The foundation that makes vulnerability safe is built during the good times, during the calm, during the ordinary, unremarkable stretches of relationship where nothing is on fire and everything feels stable. This is when you show her gradually in small doses, music, who you are underneath the surface. Not through dramatic confessions, through casual honesty, a passing comment about a fear that shaped you, a brief mention of a failure that taught you something, a moment of genuine emotion during a movie or a song or a sunset that lets her see you actually feel things deeply. These small deposits of vulnerability made consistently during stable times build an emotional account with a balance high enough to survive music, the occasional large withdrawal. She learns slowly that you have depth, that you've been through things, that you feel more than you show. And she learns this in a context where her respect for you, music, is stable, which means each revelation gets filed under complex music and fascinating rather than weak and concerning. By the time a real crisis hits, by the time the moment arrives where opening up could music either strengthen or shatter the bond, she already knows who you are underneath. The foundation is poured, the walls are built, and your vulnerability during the storm isn't a shock. It's a confirmation of the depth she always suspected was there. That's the music difference between the man who opens up and loses her and the man who opens up and binds her to him forever. It's not what they shared, it's when, and it's the foundation that existed, music, before the sharing happened. Part 8. The brutal warning stated plainly. Let me bring this home with music, the clarity Machiavelli demanded in all things. His warning is this: never show your wounds while the wolves are circling. This isn't about hiding who you are. It's about understanding the music environment you're operating in. A wound shown in safety heals faster, music, because the people around you help tend to it. A wound shown in danger gets exploited because the situation demands exploitation. Same wound, music, different context, completely different outcome. The wolves aren't always external. Sometimes the wolf is doubt itself. Music. Doubt in her mind about your strength. Doubt in her mind about your reliability. Doubt in her mind about whether you're the man she thought you were. When that doubt is circling, when you can sense it in the slight change in her tone, the fraction of a second longer it takes her to respond, the way her laugh doesn't quite reach her eyes, that is the moment to button up, stand tall, music, handle your business. Show her through action that whatever storm is happening outside hasn't penetrated the walls. And then, when the storm passes, when the wolves retreat, when the doubt dissolves, music, because you gave it nothing to feed on, open the door, let her in, share everything. Because now she's not entering a crumbling building. She's entering a fortress that just survived, music, a siege. And everything she sees inside that fortress, every music crack in the stone, every scar on the walls, every sign of the battle you just fought, becomes evidence not of weakness, but of endurance. Music. Endurance is what she actually wants to see, not the absence of struggle, the presence of survival, not a man who was never hurt, a man who was hurt and still standing. Machiavelli's brutal warning isn't never be vulnerable. His warning is never be vulnerable at music, the wrong time, because timing turns the same action into either a bond or a betrayal. 500 years ago, a man in exile figured out something that most men today still can't see. He figured out that the music world doesn't reward honesty. It rewards strategic honesty, music, not dishonesty, not manipulation. The wisdom to know when truth serves you and music when it destroys you. Vulnerability is truth. Your pain is real. Your fears are real. Your need for connection is real. None of that is weakness. None of music that should be suppressed forever. A man who never opens up isn't strong. He's imprisoned. But a man who opens up without regard for context, without reading the room, without understanding the difference between a moment that will receive his truth and a moment that will weaponize it, that man isn't brave. He's reckless. And recklessness in Machiavelli's world and in yours always pays music the same price. So here's what I want you to take from this. Build the foundation during peace. Demonstrate strength during war and open music the gates only when the siege is over and you're still standing inside. Do this, and she won't just love you. She'll trust you with her safety, her future, her deepest self. Music. Because you showed her through patience and timing and unshakable composure that you are a man who knows when to be a wall and when to be a window, and a man who knows the difference between those two things. That's a man she never leaves. If this made you rethink something you've been doing wrong, subscribe. If it hit close to home, drop a comment. And if someone you know is about to make this mistake tonight, send this to him. Consider it a warning delivered 500 years late but right on time. Until next music time.